My girlfriend said, "Look at this guy." I replied, "Then enjoy your evening without me tonight." Then I walked out, packed my bags, started over in a tiny apartment, and I just watched as her public humiliation plan backfired and left her broke, alone, and desperate to find me again. You are listening to AF Tales. Today's story is about a man whose public proposal turns into a planned humiliation, and how he chooses himself when his ex tries to come back for the wrong reasons. As you listen, ask yourself what you would have done after that night in the restaurant. My name is Daniel. I am 32 years old and I work as a structural engineer for a mid-sized firm in Charlotte. I am not a hero in this story. I am just a guy who thought 3 years with someone meant something solid, something that would naturally lead to marriage. Her name was Belle. When we met, she was finishing her marketing degree and I was 2 years into my career, finally feeling stable enough to build a future with someone. She was magnetic. Not just beautiful, but sharp and funny, the kind of person who could walk into a room and have everyone paying attention without even trying. I fell hard. Looking back, I can see the signs I ignored, the little cracks I smoothed over because I wanted to believe in us. We moved in together after a year. She wanted a place downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a skyline view. I wanted something I could actually afford. I compromised. I always compromised. The rent was steep, but I told myself it was an investment in our future. Her freelance marketing work was up and down. Some months she did well. Other months, I quietly covered most of the bills. I told myself that was what partners do. Sometimes partner becomes another word for person who absorbs all the consequences. That is a red flag, even when love is involved. By year 3, I was ready. I had saved up for a ring. It was not flashy, but it mattered to me. A princess-cut diamond on a platinum band that cost me 3 months of my salary. I planned the proposal for her birthday, on Valentine's Day. It sounded cliché even to me, but she loved that day and made a big deal out of it every year. I wanted it to be special. I booked a table at an upscale restaurant she had wanted to try for months, Meridian. She invited 6 of her friends to join us: Kelsey, Amber, Tiffany, Jocelyn, Sabrina, and Lindsay. They were all there when I decided to go ahead with my plan. Right after dessert, my heart pounding, I got down on one knee. I opened the ring box and I told her she was my best friend, my partner, the person I wanted to build a life with. I told her I could not imagine a future without her. The ring caught the candlelight. The whole table went quiet. Then she laughed, not a shocked laugh or a cry laugh. A sharp, mocking laugh that cut through the music and the soft restaurant noise. Her friends laughed too. Kelsey actually snorted. Belle looked around the table and then back at me and said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, that I actually thought she was going to marry me. The restaurant went silent. Every eye was on us. I was still on my knee, still holding the ring. I asked if she was serious. My voice sounded small. She told me to come on like I was being ridiculous. She asked if I really thought this was going somewhere. She said we had fun, but marriage. Then she pointed out that I stressed about money and rent and asked if I really thought she wanted to be stuck with that. When someone uses your vulnerability as a stage for their performance, believe what they are showing you in that moment. Her friends leaned in, whispered, laughed. I closed the ring box, stood up on weak legs, and somehow kept my voice steady. I told her I was sorry she felt that way and that I hoped they all enjoyed the rest of their evening. Then I walked to the server station, paid for my own meal and drinks, only mine, and walked out into the February cold without looking back. I drove home in a daze. The apartment was dark. Belle was still at the restaurant, probably telling the story and soaking up attention. I did not wait. I pulled out 2 duffel bags and started packing. Clothes, laptop, work files, toiletries, a framed photo of my parents. I took only what was clearly mine. I left the furniture, the dishes, the expensive coffee maker she had insisted we needed. I was done building a life in a place that suddenly felt like a set. That night I crashed on my friend Aaron's couch. He did not ask many questions, just handed me a blanket. Around 2 in the morning, my phone lit up. Text from Belle. She asked where I was, told me to stop being dramatic, said I could not just leave, that we needed to talk. I turned my phone off. The next morning, I called our landlord. The lease was in both our names. I explained that I was moving out and wanted my name off the lease. He was more understanding than I expected, probably because I had never missed a payment. I told him Belle could stay if she took over the full rent, but that was between them. I paid my share through the end of the month and left it at that. I found a small studio apartment near work. Old building, no skyline view, no dramatic windows. The rent was manageable. It was mine. I moved in 5 days after the proposal. Aaron helped me carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs. He asked if I was okay. I told him I would be, and for the first time since the restaurant, I believed myself a little. It is interesting how sometimes the worst moment of your life also opens the door to finally breathing again. I blocked Belle's number. I blocked her friends. I deleted my social media apps. I needed silence. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into a new project, a mixed-use development that demanded careful calculations and problem-solving. My boss noticed. I stayed late a lot, partly because I cared about the work, partly because the quiet studio felt too empty some nights. A week or so later, Aaron texted me that Belle had been asking around about where I lived. I did not reply. There was nothing to say. She showed up on my doorstep on March 3rd, a Tuesday evening around 7. I had just gotten home from work and was about to heat up leftover Chinese food when I heard 3 sharp knocks at the door. Something about the rhythm felt familiar. I looked through the peephole and saw her. This was not the polished Belle from the restaurant. Her hair was unwashed, pulled into a messy knot. Her eyes were red and swollen. She wore an oversized sweatshirt and old yoga pants. She knocked again, more urgently. Against my better judgment, I opened the door with the chain still on. She said my name and asked to talk. Her voice cracked. I asked how she found me. She said she asked around and that it did not matter. She asked to come in. I told her no. She flinched. She said everything was falling apart. She told me she had lost the apartment because she could not afford the full rent. Her clients had dropped her. Her friends were calling her toxic. Her mom would not answer her calls. She said she was staying with Tiffany and had to leave by Friday. She said she had nowhere to go. She said all of this was connected to me leaving. That everything went wrong after that night. I should have felt satisfied, but I did not. I just felt tired. I reminded her that she had humiliated me in front of a restaurant full of people. I reminded her that she had laughed at me and told me I was not good enough. I asked what she wanted from me now. She said she had been scared. Scared of committing, of being tied down, of losing herself if she said yes. She said she panicked and said the worst thing she could think of to push me away. I asked what she had really been feeling underneath all of that. She said she loved me, that she still loved me, that she had destroyed the best thing in her life because she was proud and stupid. Looking at her through that narrow gap, part of me wanted to believe her. Another part of me remembered the sound of her laugh at Meridian and how her friends had joined in. I told her I could not do this. She said she was not asking me to take her back. She said she just needed help for a week or 2. She said she would sleep on the floor, that I would barely notice she was there. I told her she needed to go. I said I was sorry her life had fallen apart and that I was sorry she was going through it, but that she had made choices and now had to live with them, just like I had been living with mine. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded and wiped her face. She turned and walked down the hallway with her shoulders hunched. I watched her go, closed the door, and leaned against it. I did not know if I had done the right thing or the cruelest thing. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both people is not to rescue them from the consequences they carefully built. I did not hear from her for 2 weeks. I went back to my routines. Work, gym, trying to rebuild something like a normal life. Aaron invited me out for drinks one Friday, and for the first time in a while I said yes. We sat in a sports bar watching a game I did not care about, drinking beer I did not really want, and it felt almost normal. On March 18th, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I picked up. It was Kelsey, one of Belle's friends, the one who had laughed that night. She said she needed to tell me something about Belle and about the proposal. She said I deserved to know the truth. I almost hung up, but something in her voice made me stay. She told me that the night at the restaurant had been planned. All of it. Belle had found the ring receipt in my jacket a week earlier. She knew I was going to propose. She did not want to marry me, but she also did not want to be the one who ended a 3-year relationship. So she made a plan. She told her friends what was coming. She told them to laugh, to make comments, to help make sure I felt small enough to walk away without her having to actually say the words, "I am done." Kelsey said Belle had convinced herself that publicly humiliating me was somehow kinder than dragging things out. That kind of thinking is important to notice. When someone can rewrite cruelty as kindness in their own head, they can justify almost anything. Then Kelsey told me what had happened after. Tiffany had posted about that night on Facebook, calling Belle out by name. She described the whole scene. It spread through their social circle. Clients saw it. Friends saw it. Family saw it. Belle's work depended on her reputation. Managing social media for family-oriented brands does not mix well with being publicly known for humiliating your long-term boyfriend for fun. Her clients dropped her. Her mom saw the post and was furious. Friends pulled away. The fallout was real. Then Kelsey told me why she was calling. Belle had been blowing up her phone, saying she needed to fix things with me so she could fix her reputation. She wanted to get back together so she could spin a story about misunderstandings and growth. She thought if she could show everyone that I had forgiven her, they would stop seeing her as the villain. Kelsey told me plainly that Belle did not seem focused on loving me. She seemed focused on repairing her image. When "I love you" shows up only after consequences do, it is important to ask what is really being protected. Kelsey apologized for her part in the plan and for not speaking up sooner. Then she hung up. I sat there holding my phone, letting everything settle. The proposal had not been a panicked reaction. It had been rehearsed cruelty, a performance with an audience. A text came in from another unknown number. It was Belle using Tiffany's phone, saying she was at a motel, begging to meet, saying she needed to explain everything and needed me to understand. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I took a screenshot and saved it. Not because I planned to reply, but because I needed the reminder that this was real and that my mind was not exaggerating. Then I deleted the message and blocked that number too. 3 months have passed since that night at Meridian. It is early June now, and my life looks different. I got a promotion at work, senior project engineer with a raise and my own small team. The project I had poured myself into finished ahead of schedule and under budget, and my boss made it clear my work was part of that. I moved into a better apartment, still modest, but with real space and natural light, and a small balcony where I can drink my coffee in the morning. Aaron and his girlfriend set me up on a date with one of her coworkers, a woman named Heather who works in hospital administration. We went to dinner, not at Meridian, and talked for 3 hours about work, travel, and random things. I do not know where it will go, but it felt good to talk to someone new who was not tied to all of this. I heard that Belle moved back to her hometown in Ohio. Her parents eventually took her in. Her once carefully curated social media has gone quiet. I have not looked myself. Aaron's girlfriend mentioned it, and I let the conversation move on. Kelsey sent me one more message in April. She said she hoped I was doing okay and that what happened to me had changed how she looked at loyalty and friendship. She left that friend group. She said some things you cannot come back from. I did not respond, but I appreciated it. The ring is still in my dresser drawer. I have not returned it. Maybe someday I will sell it or repurpose it. For now, it sits there as a small reminder of a night that broke one version of my life and made room for another. I do not think about Belle much now. When I do, it is like thinking about a stranger. The Daniel who loved her, who planned that proposal, who believed in their future, feels like a different person. I started therapy in April. Turns out having your life explode in a public restaurant can mess with your ability to trust. My therapist has been helping me sort through the anger, the shame, and the fear of being fooled again. I would recommend it to anyone going through something similar. I never confronted Belle after I learned the full plan. There did not seem to be a point. She had already faced the consequences of her choices. Me showing up to say, "I know what you did," would not change who she was when she made that plan. Sometimes the best closure is walking away and refusing to play another role in someone else's story. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking through Uptown after work and saw a proposal happening at an outdoor cafe. The guy was on one knee, the woman was crying happy tears, people around them were clapping. I stopped for a moment and watched. I did not feel bitterness. I did not feel envy. I just felt a quiet hope that they would treat each other better than Belle and I did. Then I kept walking. I had my own life to get back to. Here are some lessons from this story. Lesson 1. If someone turns your most vulnerable moment into a public joke, they are telling you exactly how they value you. Lesson 2. Planning cruelty in advance and calling it easier or kinder is still cruelty. Intent does not erase impact. Lesson 3. You do not owe someone a second chance when their first chance was a carefully staged humiliation. Lesson 4. Losing an apartment, clients, or reputation is not a reason to go back to a partner. Those are consequences, not signs of destiny. Lesson 5. Real love does not need you to shrink, overpay, or constantly compromise just to keep the peace. Lesson 6. Sometimes the healthiest closure is no confrontation, no big speech, just living a better life far away from the person who hurt you. What would you have done after that night at the restaurant? Would you have let Belle back into your life at any point, or do you think walking away for good was the only real option?